Donc le compromis, il a été fait par le gouvernement.
The compromise was made by the government through these discussions. It was made with the parliament, but we must move forward because it is in the best interest of the nation. I tell you this responsibly. I am not looking to be reelected. I cannot constitutionally, but between the polls in the short term and the general interests of the country, I choose the general interests of the country. And if unpopularity has to be taken on today, I will take it on.
French President Emmanuel Macron is standing defiant against protests over his decision to raise the country's retirement age from 62 to 64. His government narrowly surviving 2 no-confidence votes Monday following that move. He is now looking for ways to make companies pay workers more to diffuse anger over his pension reform. Bloomberg's Paris bureau chief Alan Katz joins us now. So basically, he's trying to talk to the protesters there, right? I mean, did it work? Are they listening?
I mean, sort of he's trying to talk to the protesters. Mostly he's stuck to the kind of talking points that he usually uses, which are not really aimed at trying to change people's minds. I mean, he doesn't come off as the most empathetic person, and he gives a lot of facts and figures and says, yes, I'm taking responsibility, but it's not very convincing for people who aren't already on his side. And certainly the protesters, or at least the unions that have been leading the protests up until he used the constitutional motion to get it through without a vote, they were very nonplussed by the whole thing and said, this is just going to encourage people to come out on the street tomorrow.
Okay, so let's talk about tomorrow. How big are the protests going to be, Alan?
Well, that's a good question. The unions obviously want them to be as big as possible. They'd like them to be bigger than their biggest one so far, which was 1.28 million people, according to French Interior Ministry figures. The unions obviously said they were much bigger than that. But they'd like there to be a lot of people out there. It's not clear, to me at least, that mass protests are really having that much of an impact. So whether or not it's, I don't know, 900,000 people, 1.2 million people, I'm not sure it really matters. They've had a series of these things. They haven't actually changed opinion, or certainly haven't changed the government's opinion at all, and haven't changed public opinion even very much. And so I don't know that it matters that much. What they want to show, though, is that people are still angry about this, they're still willing to get out on the street about this, and that it's not over, even though the failure of the no-confidence motion on Monday does mean that the law is formally adopted by the French Parliament.
Alan, you know what makes people really mad? Is when their garbage isn't picked up and you got piles of garbage in the street and you can't walk on the sidewalk, which leads me to the point of and it's a legit question, does the garbage pile up not get fixed, and does that change public opinion, or is that starting to move itself through?
So that's a good question, and the answer, you're right. The garbage is definitely the most visible issue that the French government has, mainly in Paris, but not only in Paris, in some other cities as well. And it's sort of stabilized. Basically, the French government has requisitioned a certain number of people, so roughly 1/3 of garbage trucks are out and picking up trash. It's a court order that says you can no longer strike, and you have to do this because there's a public health issue, and so that's sort of it's a force majeure kind of situation. So the amount of trash has stabilized, but it's not really going down, and it's going to become actually more of an issue come Sunday because King Charles III is coming for a state visit to France, and so they're certainly not going to want to have trash all over Paris for this state visit. So I think they're trying to accelerate that pickup, but it's for the moment, at least, it's stabilized at a large. I mean, there's a lot of trash around on the streets now, and it's sort of not getting any bigger, but it's stabilized at that amount.
Wow. That is a picture.
I'm sure the king will be very polite about it. Alan, just very quickly in 30 seconds, are the unions going to remain in control of the narrative, or do you think this gets away from them?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, Guy. I mean, it's. Traditionally, unions have wanted big protests, but that are contained, that are peaceful, that don't break anything, because that's the way they think they can actually get things done. The Yellow Vest, which was a social insurrection in France in 2019, that was not union-led, and it was much more violent, caused a lot more arrests, and people are worried that that might be coming back.